when you're earlier on in your content journey, you do really have to pay attention to the hook and the text on the screen and things that are happening in the first few seconds. And then as your audience gets to know you and understand the way that you present information, maybe that's a time where things can evolve and maybe you don't have to do the highly produced stuff. But it's a learning experience for everybody. And I don't think there's a right way or a wrong way to do it, but it's important to start and it's important to be consistent, in my opinion.
Welcome back to Med Creator 101. I'm Mimi Banks, the founder of MB Social. And as always, I'm here with Dr. Portela. And in today's episode, we're joined by our dear friend in Virginia, Dr. Alexandra Brown. We're so excited to have you here.
And just to let the listeners know a little bit more about Dr. Brown, Dr. Brown is a board-certified dermatologist and a managing partner at River Ridge Dermatology. She is originally from Bosnia and moved to the United States in 1999, pursued her medical school training at Des Moines University in Iowa, same place that I went, coincidentally, and then did her residency through Michigan State University, same place that I went, coincidentally, just a few years ahead of me. She's the Associate Program Director for the Lewis Gale Dermatology Residency and a clinical educator at multiple institutions. So again, welcome, Dr. Brown.
Thank you, guys. It's so good to see you. You guys are both awesome. And Dustin, yeah, we met a long time ago, probably in 2013. I was a chief resident and you were a student.
Yeah, it was one of my last audition rotations, trying to make those dermatology connections. And you were at the tail end of your residency. And we both remember the crazy patient that we saw that day. Crazy meaning complicated, not to disparage the patient.
It was a complex pediatric patient. Yes, we both remember it.
Yes. Yeah, it was a memory for me. So.
And probably two different experiences for you, Dustin, specifically being a student and Sandra being an experienced resident. What was that like, by the way?
Full disclosure, I remember the patient very well.
Yeah, she didn't remember me.
Because I tried to introduce myself.
Well, no, I mean, for you, yeah, what was the patient?
It was a 4-year-old girl who had traveled. That was in a kind of an underserved clinic, and she traveled like 3 hours to see us. And it was disseminated zoster. So it was like she had history of eczema and she had really much chickenpox on her whole body, but shingles. She needed to be in a hospital and IV acyclovir, and she was, but then she was coming to see us for like scarring and things like that because it was really head to toe. I had been seeing her for months.
It was a complicated one, and I was like, whoa, this is like real stuff. This isn't acne and warts and,
You kind of got us on a complicated one.
It's so interesting. Like the first impression for each of you is so different. For you, it's like, okay, can I do this? Do I want to do this? And you're like, okay, here's someone that we've been working with or following, probably.
It was very good, though. Dr. Brown made an impression on me, so.
He didn't give up on derm. And now you're helping me out with all the social media stuff. You have actually been an amazing resource for me. I hope I say that enough. And I make sure I tell everyone about it as far as how do you start, what equipment to buy.
Yeah, that's all important stuff. And we've talked many times on the podcast before about just needing more physician voices on social media to help dispel misinformation and to help educate people. Because healthcare is a complicated topic and people get a lot of bad information or they can't afford to go get the right information from a physician.
And also, this is why we started the podcast, because people want to know. And we were just talking, what are the best tools? How do you do it? How does he do it? What are those tips and secrets that we can share with people who want to create content? So we learned a little bit about you in your intro, but we always like to get to know our guests beyond their bio. And so we wanted to ask you a few personal questions if you're open.
Okay, shoot.
Big party or small gathering?
Small gathering.
Spontaneous plans or pre-planned itinerary?
Pre-planned, my type A can't.
Neutrals or bright colors?
Neutrals.
Luxury hotel or cozy Airbnb?
That just depends. That's a tough one. Probably luxury hotel. Let's just be honest here.
I know.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
Here's a hard one. Spotify or Apple Music?
That is a hard one. Because if it was up to me, I would do Spotify, but we actually do neither of the two. We have to do Amazon Alexa because that's what kids listen. But if it was up to me, I would do Spotify because they actually have a lot of Bosnian music.
Oh, really?
I had a playlist. They have some good 80s jams. Mm-hmm.
That is cool. I didn't know that. So I wonder if they have more international selection in general.
They must, because Amazon has not very much at all. And I've never done Apple Music. I don't know why. Everything's Apple.
Yeah, I'm a Spotify guy myself. I've been with them for a decade probably.
And this is not sponsored by Spotify.
Not sponsored by Spotify.
Yet. I was really kind of touched recently. You shared your skin journey and you opened up about your struggles with acne through your teens and adult years. Did that influence your decision to pursue dermatology?
Not even a little bit. I wish I could say that, but I can't because it's all out in the world actually already. I did a video on like my journey on my YouTube channel. So there's a video on me growing up in Bosnia. And I talk about growing up during the war a little bit, but I talk about how I decided on dermatology. And I hate to say this, but it was plan B for me because I really wanted to do plastics because I wanted to do something with my hands. I wanted to fix something. I'm very like, I need to see it change in front of my eyes. And plastics was going well till I did my University of Texas, Houston, UT Houston rotation. And I physically couldn't handle it. 5 a.m. to 11 p.m., my back was hurting. So I wanted to know what the next thing was. And it turns out skin is no different. You see a change right in front of your eyes. So I started very like surgical heavy. Boy, have things changed. I started surgical heavy and now I'm mostly cosmetic.
I did not know that that was your story.
But I really went to medical school to be an ER doctor. I didn't even know I wanted to do medical school. I thought I was going to be a veterinarian. I was going to take care of puppies and cats. Things changed. Then I wanted to go to medical school to be an ER physician. And then things have just evolved. A lot has happened. And it's amazing. You learn a lot every day and every experience shapes your thoughts and your next experience and your whole path, really. So things have just kind of evolved, but it is my acne journey that keeps me passionate about dermatology. Because right now I say I'm mostly cosmetic, but I will see any acne patient who calls the practice. They know my practice knows to put on my schedule because I just love it. They're mostly teens. And if I look back, if I could have changed things that I did that I wish I hadn't done or have access to things that I didn't have access to. So that's where like I feel like education at that younger age is so important. And that's really my current passion.
We got a little bit about your evolution into dermatology. I went into medical school also planning to be an ER physician, so let's chalk up another similarity there.
Oh, wow.
But I had not gone the way of plastics. That was not the plan for me ever at any point. But at some point, you're in Virginia after residency, you're starting a practice. You guys have grown to be a huge practice, I think with over 100 employees, if I remember correctly. And at some point, you decided you were going to get active on social media. What was in the inspiration behind that? Why did you decide to make that leap?
I can tell you exactly when it happened. We had 3 offices, well, 2 at the time, and the lady out in Giles County, she needed a melanoma surgery and she was worried about scar. So I said, how about I show you before and after? She's like, well, I can't really drive to the office just to see it. And I was new. This was probably, I started here in 2013, so this is 14, 15, probably 15. And so I said, why don't I put a before and after of another patient? So I got a consent, put it together, and I put on Instagram. I said, why don't you go look at it? And then I called it. I said, you see in this corner how it looks, to see how this looks. So it was 100% to educate my current patients on what do I do? How do I do it? Because we're kind of rural area, somewhat underserved. In Michigan, you would see patient back in 2 weeks and go over a pathology report. If it was skin cancer here, we call them and tell them and then bring them in. So everything happens a little bit faster because we don't bring them back just to tell them things. So I was doing a lot of phone calls. So it started as, and it still is 100% educational. It's just evolved into something completely different that I didn't anticipate it happening.
So that was kind of your first foray, just a picture for a very specific patient. Did you get a lot of attention on that post, or what made you then post a second thing for education? Like, what was the evolution of your content in the early days?
It started, I think, private practice, and I just wanted to be like, hey guys, I'm here. There's a female physician. There were no female dermatologists in the area. So I wanted to kind of get the word out. It was mostly Instagram and Facebook.
What year was this again?
15, 16. And I was posting a little bit.
That was pretty early on.
Yeah, I got my handle in 2012 when Instagram was just a thing. And then I did nothing with it. And I posted a couple in 16, 17, maybe like one post a month when somebody had a question or really particular to something I was trying to accomplish. In 2019, something happened with my family. There was an accident that my family was in, and we just kind of quit social media altogether for about almost 3 years. And it took me until October of 22 to say, I'm going to do social media. So my social media actually started in October of 22. And I couldn't tell you why. It came back to I wanted to educate. I remember the first video I made. I remember having lunch with my friend saying, I'm going to do something. She goes, what? I said, I don't know. And I went in my car and I literally took a video of what I had in my car. And I said, what does a dermatologist have in their car? And it was kind of like, okay, who's nosy? Who wants to see what's in my car and why? And I happen to have sunscreen and SPF gloves and things like that average person might not have.
Yeah, I think I remember that video. Was that a big leap to do video content? Were you apprehensive about that? Because prior Instagram was just photos primarily.
Mm-hmm. That's from going from nothing to real exposure.
So it was really hard because the first ones, I remember in 2018 posting, I downloaded InShot. It was like $39.99 one-time pay. They don't make those anymore. I would edit my own videos, but it was videos in like a 1x1 or 3x4, the carousels and things like that. And took a lot of editing, and I was trying to be fancy with it. But then when I posted my first one, I was so anxious. I didn't actually talk. I just showed pictures and I put some music over top. And then when I actually started talking, it is so cringe to listen to yourself back. Oh my gosh. It is so bad. And then you hear it, like you hear the voice, you see your big eyes. And then when people make comments about it, you're like, I'm doomed. I'm never going to make it in this world. And I guess you just harden over time, or I don't know, kind of like you hit your 40s and you're like, I don't care what anyone thinks. Maybe you just hit a certain point. You're like, if you don't like it, keep scrolling. It still kind of hurts.
Do people comment on it?
Yes. People will point out your personal physical appearances. I think the hair is the only thing that hasn't been attacked yet. Everything else has been tackled.
You've got great hair, though.
Thanks. It's all I've got.
I don't know about that. We have discussed, negativity and trolls and handling comments and things like that. And my experience has been, maybe I shouldn't say this on a public forum to doom myself, but my experience has not been faced with a lot of negativity. And I don't know if it's a function of that women are more likely to be attacked online versus men. And I don't know if you have any thoughts about that, but I do feel like in conversations with my female colleagues that they do face more negativity, more personal judgment, because I think people are just more willing to be that kind of person behind a keyboard.
Wow, you bring up an interesting. I've heard a lot of other female content creators get the same feedback. I've not heard from male content creators about that, actually.
Interesting.
Is there anything that you do to manage that? Do you just avoid reading comments? Do you read them and then just let them roll off your back now? How do you handle the negativity?
Roll off your back. So easy. I used to respond, actually, and I would say, it's not a kind thing to say about something that a person can't change. Now, looking back, I don't know why I even engaged. I think I just ignore them now. I don't block. I don't really engage. I just ignore it. But you can't unsee it. And I'm an adult. Really deep down, I don't care, but it still is not nice to see it. It hasn't happened in a while. I'll be honest. It's been probably a good year since I've had anything, or maybe I didn't see it.
Which is just fine.
Ignorance is bliss. This just happened with the White Lotus. Did you hear about that?
I didn't finish. Don't tell me.
No, it's one of the actresses. So Saturday Night Live just did a parody of White Lotus, and your friend Dustin Sarah Sherman was doing a parody of one of the characters who was British, and they accentuated her teeth. They had Trump and they had other people, political figures, but she was the only cast member that they kind of parodied in this extreme form. And it was not taken well. It was so not taken well that it had the internet up in arms, talking to her about her teeth, that she's perfect the way she is, don't change it. And then I think, if I read correctly, that SNL may have even issued an apology, which they don't usually do. But they kind of took a personal attack on a vulnerable subject that really was just being herself, and they made fun of her in a way that was really not nice.
But sometimes I wonder if it's like, if that was a man, would we all laugh about it, or would it be the same way? Like, are we perceiving it differently? And sometimes it's a different tone. It's not like how it's said, it's how it's received. So I try to look at it both ways, because it's all like text messages. Like, you're not really getting the tone of it. The tone is really how you're feeling that day.
That's very true. Or whatever the vulnerabilities that you had or you were thinking or feeling that second.
Or maybe they have something going on they're insecure about and they're saying it like that.
Most likely.
So I try to just take it with a grain of salt. And we all have things in life we really should be worrying about rather than that stuff. So
that's a very good perspective. And when you started, as Dustin was saying, you were taking pictures and then you moved on to more video content. And right now it's a lot of just exclusively Reels or TikTok. What tools do you use? Do you always use your phone? Do you have lights? Do you have a lavalier? Like, what do you use?
It started with a phone and a ring light. I got 2 ring lights. The first one was like $80 and it was trash. So I got one for $120. Man, we really upgraded there.
There you go.
It started with that. So when I look at the initial videos, it is like those big, screens right there, ring lights. And then it moved to when I started doing YouTube, which Dustin encouraged me to. And thank you for that. I'm really glad you did that. I copy dusted. I emailed him. He's like, here's my Amazon store. And I'm like, okay, link Amron FC22 right there. Here's my Sony ZV-E1, my Rode mic. I did get another light that I didn't talk to you about, and I like it. It's a lantern type of thing. So I've got that. It's just a little bit softer light, and I got that. It's still Amaran. And it's kind of evolved from there, but my phone gets used for just reels, period. I just bought the DJI Osmo Pocket 3. Don't ask me why.
What is this? There are a lot of names I don't know or recognize.
So DJI is the brand name. Osmo Pocket 3 is it's like this little handheld, and you can do vertical or horizontal on it, and it can track person. I tried to run it during a soccer game. That was not successful.
Yeah, it's not got a great zoom, but it's a great little vlogging camera. You can set it on a tripod and it will move, like it'll follow you. And so I use that when I travel. I used to bring my DSLR camera and a tripod, and that's a lot to carry around. And the DJI Osmo has been just a great little tool. If this happened when we did the AAD in San Diego, all this news about benzene was coming out in sunscreens. And, I pull out my DSLR camera and a tripod. I'm trying to record a YouTube video in my hotel room, but now I can just prop up this little DJI Osmo. It shoots in 4K. It's got a wireless microphone that attaches to it, and it's really handy as a content creator on the go.
Have you recorded YouTubes with it?
I have. Yeah. I've recorded YouTube videos on it. There's kind of a movement on YouTube, and I don't know if you've noticed it, for just more raw, authentic content and less of the really highly produced stuff. And probably the leader in that is a young man named Sam Sulet, and he's a bodybuilder. And he does, every day, like 45-minute videos that are just a daily vlog where he just films himself in the gym, shopping, very minimal edits, but people watch him. And it's kind of led to this resurgence of like more simple content, less editing, and just really getting to know a person and more authentic. And so I've tried to do that with the DJI Osmo if I'm doing something on the go, more vlog style. And generally, they're pretty well received.
Nice. I've wondered about that on YouTube because I noticed a few of those, but doesn't Dr. Dre do that?
Yeah, I mean, she doesn't do a ton of complex editing or anything. I think she shoots off of a DSLR just in her bedroom, but it's not highly produced. I don't even know half the time if she's using a lavalier microphone. I think it's just capturing on the camera because there's echoes and stuff, but her videos do so well. And she's led with the education and the science and cultivated an audience that expects and respects her opinion on things. And so they're willing to overlook that it's not highly produced, or that the audio isn't, crisp and clean and rich and all of these things, because she gives the education and that's what she's known for.
But you got to get there because first 3 seconds, if you don't have audio and you don't have video, like if it's pixelated and audio is bad, people are just going to swipe if they don't know you.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Where do you film? Dustin has a pretty cool setup and a whole recording booth. Well, not even a booth, a room. But where do you record?
Anywhere I can. I don't have an office in my house. You guys, we built the house in 2018, and I was like, I don't need an office. My office is a desk inside our walk-in closet that was built out 2 years ago.
That's amazing.
I am currently sitting in a guest bedroom, so I have to move my stuff away every time we travel for soccer or go to the beach because somebody comes to watch the dogs. So this all has to be moved. So we are in a process of doing an addition to the house to add a master suite. I'm going to convert my master into an actual office. Like I'm going to get an office for the first time, but that's about a year out.
And then where do you film your content? Like with all your lights?
I'm sitting in a guest bedroom with all the lights staring at me. All of it. The YouTube, and I have like a little desk and actually a rolly stool that I'm sitting on from the office.
Well, that just goes to show for the listeners that you don't have to have fancy, ring lights and expensive cameras and sound insulated recording studios in order to get started. The important thing is just to start and lead with that education or whatever it is that you're passionate about. And then if the time comes, you're enjoying it, the content is going well, and you want to make upgrades, you buy more equipment, you outfit a different space to be a permanent recording space, whatever it is, you just have to start, and you can start simply.
I'm so curious to know about your process for content and how you come up with your ideas. Is it from patients? Is it from being in office? Is it misinformation? What fuels your content?
So my favorite ideas and that I feel like do really well are actually from office. And I've really struggled in the last probably 8 months finding time to film in the office. But throughout the day, I'll have it's always in threes, three patients back to back who are like, I don't do tretinoin in the summer because I don't want to be out in the sun. But I'm like, oh, that is not how it works. So I'll collect those little things and I keep it, I have a notes, like the notes app in my phone. I'll keep a tab on there of running topic ideas and then I'll batch film. But I do think there's something about watching the trends. And I used to spend, I'm embarrassed to say, 4 hours a day just scrolling, and I would call it market research. And, you favor that, you save the videos that you want to stitch later. And then come content creation day, you kind of have an outline of what all you're going to film. But I don't have time with kids' schedules and work and everything. There's just no time to do that very much. So I kind of make notes on the go and I don't consume the content as much as I used to.
Do you batch film? Do you set aside specific time to film?
I always batch. Sadly, it ends up being Sunday right now. I'm hoping to shift that to Friday just because you go to work and I never come home from work. I go to a game and then I come home at 8 or 9 at night. So my days are 12 to 14-hour days. I am never home sooner than 12 hours, and that's on a good day. So I have to film on either weekends or sometimes on Monday. But then kids have sporting events on weekends all the time, unless it's a holiday.
And when you batch film, how many pieces of content would you film at a time?
I think I just hit my record last Sunday. I did 3 long form YouTube. Now 2 were medical diagnoses. So these are quick. So I did KP or step derm. And then a longer one, which is a skincare. So I did 3 YouTubes, which is a lot. YouTube takes me a lot. I have to prep. I have to actually write out concept because I have a lot of squirrel moments and I just go off. So it has to be written out. Next thing to talk about is, but I think I do anywhere from 5 or 6 to 10 shorts and 1 to 2 YouTubes.
And how long are your YouTubes usually?
Anywhere from 15 minutes to 30 minutes. It just depends. The skincare ones end up being up for 20 minutes, but we're talking all day. I get up on Sunday, do my hair, and then it's an all day project, 8 to 10 hours.
And what does the editing process look like? Are you handing that off to somebody? Do you have a process after filming to help ease up your time?
I just found somebody, and we all, if you don't, you will at some point get these emails from people whose English isn't amazing, but they're just willing to help. And those videos kind of all look the same. And I prefer to edit myself. I just don't have the time. And, a smart person, I don't know if this was a book or a podcast, but years ago, I was so focused on efficiency. And I learned somewhere that if somebody else can get it done 70% as well as you would, you delegate. You just delegate.
Oh, I like that. I've never heard that number. I like that.
There might have been a podcast. I used to be really into finances and efficiency and podcasts. So I just was listening a lot. So I have tried, even at work, if we get behind, I want to clean a room. I'm like, no, send your prescriptions because somebody else can do that. So every time somebody else can do it, I try to hand it off. So I've recently have somebody, I really like this person. He listens. It's hard because, the video is sent back to you and it's not what I had imagined. So then I have to type up a novel about what I want changed at 15 seconds, at 20 seconds, do this, change this font. It's outside of the line. And then we go back and forth once or twice. Not bad, but it's still work, but it's less work than if I would have done it. I still think mine would look better, but maybe it's just in my head. I don't know. Then again, how much of what's consumed is the information itself and how much is it, how is it presented? I really don't know. Do you guys have thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that can vary between person to person. Obviously, we talked about Dr. Dre, where her content is not highly produced and they're there for her information. And then I see people online and they're presenting some type of information. And then underneath the video, there's a video game or something where a car is driving on a track or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And there's a specific name for this type of content where they're trying to just get their ear in your voice, but capture your attention to watch a video game of a car driving over jumps or something like that. And so there's different ways where it's is the content of the audio really that mesmerizing, or are people just watching because there's a video game? And that's more the production and the way that things are presented and not necessarily the information itself. And I think that when you're earlier on in your content journey, you do really have to pay attention to the hook and the text on the screen and things that are happening in the first few seconds. And then as your audience gets to know you and understand the way that you present information, maybe that's a time where things can evolve and maybe you don't have to do the highly produced stuff. But it's a learning experience for everybody. And I don't think there's a right way or a wrong way to do it, but it's important to start and it's important to be consistent, in my opinion.
I agree. I think from a consumer perspective, because now I'm taking on a little bit of a creator role in this new podcast journey that we're on. I think it has to be digestible. So what is digestible and what can be consumed? And the way you consume something might be different than somebody else, but one thing is true is the hook in that 3 seconds. What are you seeing that hooks the people the most? What is compelling? Is it an action or is it the text on screen? I think the text on screen is helpful for when someone comes back to your page. I'm not sure that all the time, unless you're showing products or something else in the middle of it, when you're doing green screen. But I think for sure a hook. What I thought was interesting, I was listening to something with Mr. Beast where he was saying he was showing a video of him running and he never puts any voiceover on top of him running. The minute he starts to talk, people scroll away because they're not interested in what he has to say. But when he's running, they're kind of curious to see where he's going. Where is it going to lead to? What is he running to? What is he running from? And I thought that was wildly fascinating because the hook in itself was the run. And so it's figuring out what that hook is in your content. Lindsay Zabritsky is all about gatekeeping and she's not going to gatekeep. Or the top 3 things that would do this. Or for you, what's in your car? I just want to see. And maybe the on-screen test, there's nothing, but I'm just still watching you to see like what's going to come up in your car. So I think a lot of it's the concept, personally.
I think you're right. And I personally don't feel like I'm really great at that. I feel like I'm good at digesting information down to basics. English is my second language, so I have to translate a lot. So I feel like I find a lot of feedback, like from my residents and my patients, how I'm able to explain it well. But for me to actually hook you to get there, I don't know. So for people who are following me, y'all are amazing. Thank you.
No, but I think that's the hook, right? That's the hook is I don't know what this is. Help me understand. And so you're able to simplify something through education in a way that is meaningful and memorable.
Yeah, good point.
I think that's a real skill.
So we talked about your process a little bit. You are now on YouTube as well, in addition to TikTok and Instagram, which is more the short form video content. And, it did not take you too long after starting YouTube to become a YouTube partner. And so explain a little bit, what does it mean to be a YouTube partner? And what is your strategy on YouTube compared to the other platforms?
Okay, first of all, I don't think I have a strategy. I'm like, this content's awesome. Let's just throw it up there. I really do think there's a difference between people who consume content on TikTok versus Instagram versus YouTube. I just don't think I am big enough or at the point where I'm willing to separate those things, or I don't have the bandwidth to do that. So for me, I create content and it goes on all 3 platforms. But YouTube, you said you need to start YouTube. I was like, okay, Dustin said to do it. He knows what he's talking about. So I started it because you told me to. But in the first few YouTube videos, oh my gosh, the sound, I can't even look at them. I'm going to cringe. But it's a whole new level of involvement. You have to have the right camera. Your sound has to be somewhat good. Somebody needs to edit it. I have no interest in editing YouTube videos whatsoever. That's too much time. So it requires money. You have to pay somebody to do all that. But there's something so cool right now when I have some videos, because I made several that I'm very passionate about. And when I see patients in clinic, I'm like, you go to YouTube. So melasma, I'm like, here's the gist of it. But studies show that patients are going to forget 90% of what we tell them in the clinic. And we can write it down, but they might lose the note. But if they're willing to receive the information like at 9:00 at night and they can just go find it and play it, that is the best. So I try to create videos really for my patients. And I answer directly to like my followers and my patients who ask questions, and I create videos around that topic. So I've kind of fallen in love with YouTube because of that.
That kind of brings us back to the beginning of your content creation journey, that this was for a specific patient. And when I create content, I have in mind, is this going to help the patients that I see every day in the clinic?
And then you had asked about YouTube partner. I actually didn't know what that meant. I just knew you're going to maybe make some money. And you do. I made my first, I think my first month, I made like $200 and it was really cool. And that happened, I think I got notification like before Christmas sometime of 24, and I started YouTube maybe July. So within 6 months, I was YouTube partner. I don't know if that's good. I was excited. I'm trying to be just excited for my milestones and not compare, because we all have our own journeys. And it's kind of cool because you get a little bit of money for the views. You feel like you can say your YouTube partner, but you can tag the products, which patients actually like. I used to wonder if that's more salesy, and I didn't want to, like the ManyChat that we all use for Instagram. Everyone wants the links. And I feel I'm not a salesperson. I would be a terrible salesperson. I tell you that right now. I would make awful salesperson. But people want the links and it helps you with the engagement. So that's what's so nice on YouTube. You can just link it up in there and you can tag the products right there.
I want to go back because we actually haven't really talked about YouTube a lot, but can you share what the revenue model is? Well, how do you get $200? Do you know?
I can tell you I made $200 my first month and it's kind of been around the same ever since. It's not much. They kind of explain it to you. It's that shorts are pulled all together. There's a video when you make YouTube partner, and I've watched it, of course. The Taipei and me would, and Dustin probably knows more about it. So shorts, you get paid based on what everyone on there gets collectively, all the creators, or at least that's my understanding. And then it gets divvied up based on how many of all the views are your views.
Oh, interesting. But there's a pool.
There's a pool, and they're changing something May 12th. So I don't really know how we make the money on there.
Yeah, I mean, anybody can start a YouTube video or a YouTube channel. And the standard way is I think you had to have 4,000 hours of watch time on your long form videos, and you had to have at least 1,000 subscribers. And then when shorts came on, it was a lot easier for people to get 4,000 hours of watch time. So I think that the requirements are a little bit different for shorts versus long form content, where the number of views you have to get, the number of watch hours, the number of subscribers. So it is different between shorts and long form. But once you've hit those milestones, you become a partner in the YouTube monetization program, essentially. So when ads are served around your content, specifically for long form video, because if you are not signed into YouTube or if you're not a YouTube premium member, whatever it is, you click on a video, you're going to get an ad first for 15 to 30 seconds before that video plays. And so if somebody clicks on your video, they want to watch it, they're going to sit through that ad, and whatever money is generated from that ad, YouTube keeps, I think, 40% of it and gives the creator 60%. So that's where that money comes from. If your videos are over 8 minutes long, you can have ads placed in the middle of your video. So if you're doing a video that's 30 minutes long, there might be 2 ad breaks in the middle of that video.
Can you choose that option?
Yeah, so you can include or you can choose not to include mid-roll ad breaks. And then if you are choosing to have them in there, you can adjust where they might appear as well. So if there's a specific point in your content where you're like, I'm going to have a pause here so we can, put that ad there. Mr. Beast obviously does this because they'll build up to a critical moment. And right before something happens, there'll be an ad break. And you're like, they left me hanging. I have to watch this ad and get back to it. For most of my videos, I do not tweak where the ad break appears, but I've just recently started uploading my podcast to YouTube, and there I do control where the ad breaks appear.
Okay, I had no idea you could do any of that. For shorts, to qualify for YouTube partners, 10 million views in 90 days. And I think I hit mine because I got my 4,000 watch hours first. And you have to have 1,000 subscribers. So you have to have 1,000 subscribers, so you get level 1, and then your level 2's either 10 million watch hours on the shorts in 90 days or the 4,000 watch hours total in 90 days.
That's crazy. It's really kind of cool. I think your objective, the same thing with Dustin's, hasn't changed since the beginning, which I think is what makes you such a good creator of that education and really staying true to your goals. And I think that's also why people follow you, because they know what they're going to get. And so there is that consistency. And it doesn't matter about the format, but they know that they can come to you for education. They know that there's going to be value by what they're consuming.
A lot of my followers are my patients on Instagram. I know that. And that is something that I always want everyone who follows to know that I will always be honest. I tend to be a little direct. I don't know if that's a foreigner thing, but very direct, but I'm very loyal and very honest. So if I don't like something, I'm probably going to say it. If I like it, I'm going to say it. I'm not going to beat around the bush, and I'm not going to, I will not work with a brand if I wouldn't use it myself.
But I think that's super important these days in the world of creators, in the world of influencers, that word authenticity and knowing who you can trust.
And I have practice and I have patience. I have another primary job. So I make sure that ultimately my reputation is still upheld on every platform, that I wouldn't do or say anything that I wouldn't do or say in real life.
And you talked a little bit about your followers and your patients, but for the people that are just getting to know you through the podcast, where can they find you if they want to follow you?
Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, if you do Facebook, at Dr. Alexandra Brown, and the spelling is Aleks. There's no X in there. And then, of course, the YouTube.
And we'll have links to those in the podcast show notes. And we encourage everybody to go find you on social media and follow you because the information is very good. It is always authentic. And I appreciate that about your content. I've enjoyed watching you grow as a content creator. It's been fun. And it's also been great to just be your friend and learn from you as well.
You've been amazing, both of you guys. Dustin, you've helped me tremendously. I can't say enough. And I've shared it before on social media. You're very open, you're honest, you're direct, you're willing to share things that average person might not. I've asked you lots of questions and you've always had an answer. And Mimi, you've been great. I mean, you introduced me to Mimi.
Yeah.
And now we're working together. I just feel like I've been so blessed to meet so many good people in my life. Very blessed.
And we'll work on Snapchat as the next frontier.
Sounds good.
The Snapchat show. Yeah, exactly.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you for our listeners for tuning into this episode with Dr. Alexandra Brown, dermatologist practicing in Virginia. We'll leave her social media handles in the podcast show notes. We've learned a lot about her journey as a content creator, starting as a social media educator, primarily for her own patients. We learned a little bit about where she started with equipment and lights and how that has grown. And we're excited to see what the content looks like when you build out an office and get your addition done on the home, and as you continue to educate on social media. So thank you for tuning in. And if you've enjoyed this podcast, please leave us a 5-star review wherever you listen to podcasts and share this episode with a friend who could benefit.